My name is Dan Nardi. It's actually Danny. I've been going by Dan for so long, I forget my first name sometimes. I've been here in this community for approximately 40 years now. A lot of what has to do with myself as an artist really begins in so many ways here and has remained here. At the beginning I was going back to school when I was about 24 and thinking I would go into art education, and my interest really was in painting, and dropped art education as an idea maybe after a semester because I didn't really want to spend my time learning how to teach. I was more interested in learning things for myself, and I was really invigorated by other students around me and just this freedom that painting had. And so essentially I did my bachelor's degree in studio painting with a minor in drawing, and then did an MS the same way. The thing that I'm sure people hearing that and looking at my work today are kind of wondering, well, how did this come about? And that's really due to the last semester that I was in school. I was getting, working on my master's, and I was getting really pretty confused about the whole painterly plane, and becoming much more interested in some things were minimalistic, some things that were becoming more object-like but still involved color and surface like a painting, but I wanted to take it to a much more physical way, a different kind of territory to enter into. And so I actually just started building things at that time that I think my graduates show, the majority of them look like they related back to stone or even concrete, which I was looking at quite a lot, and looking for expressions in broken concrete and sidewalks, and just really trying to bring that some way literal to the work that I was doing. I think that when I first began with this interest in concrete, but also in constructing things, I was working from an incredibly rudimentary kind of source. I had no training in construction. I had no understanding of actually how to make or build something. So I was moving through that at my own speed and working with materials and means that were not complicated. And so I really quite literally was teaching myself, but as I worked with both kinds of materials, both materials I'd get at a hardware store or a lumber yard. Some of those went into shaping some early concrete form work, and some of those just became the medium that I would make wall pieces from predominantly. So I found that in working with these materials, the concrete was satisfying basically my need to become very three-dimensional in a freestanding manner, and the same materials would also, to shape the concrete, would also allow me to build things for the wall. So I still had this interest in wall work, which relates back to painting, and some of the coloration that I started to return to in concrete came back to painting in very subtle tints and hues, striations, which for me really kind of go back to color field painting, just atmospheric kind of things. So my interest in both things, whether it was wall or freestanding, was to deal with what I was then starting to understand as very man-made forms, oftentimes very geometric, and then be infused with an organic quality, qualities of nature themselves, and this this dichotomy, the mix between man and nature, and that's remained for all these years. I had lost, I guess, enthusiasm for anything pictorial, but as an object, it shapes space around it, and I actually, depending on the scale of things, it shapes the space almost like having a persona, like a person standing right there in the room. Only this is a whole nother entity. But I know for me, I was really caught up for quite a while with creating freestanding works that were just right at human size, just to, in some way, truly embody that sort of feeling that this actually had a personal kind of presence. And so when we get into sculptural form, this presence really is, I think, always been a very intriguing thing to me. So when it becomes, say, the things that I would do as a wall construction, then I think once again that the painting starts to come back in, and the work can have a very structural, physical kind of composition to it, but then the finer sort of nuances of where materials change or meet, or when I'm gluing paper down to wood, or working with some kind of putties on wood, then I'm back in that sort of painting thing again, and thinking more about composition within a structural composition, which is very intriguing to me. Can be a little confusing sometimes, and I would say that probably what becomes confusing is when I have an initial idea to start one of these works. I always try to leave myself some room for letting it talk to me. A lot of times what will happen is I'll get to the point where I've constructed what it is that is going to take me into the next stage, and then it stops me. Because it's looking pretty complete at that point, and that's where I get into, I think, the strongest sort of dialogue that's almost like a fight with myself, and trying to resolve how far do I take this, and what is it really saying, because it's already speaking to me at one level, and I sometimes get really hung up about where I'm at with it. And so that becomes the time when I do take that luxury of letting it sit, letting it be on the wall, letting it stand on the floor for sometimes a pretty long period of time before I either think, well, that must be it, or no, now I know what I want to do. So it's an unusual kind of dialogue that goes on. It is this sort of part of my being that I'm incredibly aware of it, and I try to find a way to keep it in balance. That sometimes I think if I put it out in the open and talk about it too much, I become, like I am now, very aware of trying to put something in words that I know deep down exists in a much different manner, and it's all really the essence of feeling. And I understand it on that level. I think that there is, for a lot of artists, that sort of spiritual element that we thrive on, that comes from deep down within, and all kinds of other things can be affecting your life, and your life affects your work. And it remains the one thing that really gives you strength and gives you hope, keeps you moving forward, because you just don't want to let it go. You know that's the essence. It actually means very much to me. I've got a long history with the Arts Center. My first experience was literally when I was still in grad school and had a studio in a building downtown where the Arts Center was on the second floor of that. There were artists like myself all in school up on the very top floor, different studios. There was a dance group that we shared a space with. It had an alternative gallery there. But on the middle floor was the most elegant floor. It was like a club. This was some kind of a gentleman's club, this building. And that's where the Arts Center was. And so I became familiar with the Arts Center and the people who were involved in it at that time. And then after I graduated, I worked for the Arts Center teaching a painting class, and always stayed in touch. But essentially it's one of those true community treasures that as an artist, I think there are a number of us who have stayed here, and it's one of the best things about staying here is the Arts Center. So it really does connect us to a whole nother audience that's outside the academic world, and it means a lot to me. It means quite a bit, and I'm just really happy to be involved to this degree of showing a body of work at this point in time. So I'm very appreciative of that.